Okay, so this video is going to give a basic of starting up the code and getting the code ready to run. So for some of you, this will probably be basics or things that you already know. So this is more for people that don't know how to run some of the functions in R. So this is my GitHub, and you'll come to the annual report code for all offices. And then here you'll have the code that you can copy. So you'll copy all of this code and you'll open up R, preferably RStudio. And then you might have to open up a new script. And then I already copied to my clipboard all of the code. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paste that in here. And then you can save it under whatever you want. So you can come up to File, Save As, or you can just do Save here. So I'll just save this as test, or well, I'll save it in my personal folder. It'll automatically want to save it in your documents. So we'll come here. Okay. So now whenever you want to save, you can just click up here and it'll save it in that file. So the first thing you want to do is load in any packages that you need. So if you have never used R and don't have these packages installed, you'll need to install them first, which I describe in this green hashtag. So anytime you see a green hashtag, it's going to be text, so me giving some sort of helpful hint or telling you something that needs to be done to the code. So for example, if I didn't have tidy R yet, I would do install packages, oops, caps lock's on, tidy R. Okay, so I would run that, and if I didn't have ggplot, then I would do the same thing for ggplot or data table, but I already have that, so I'm not going to run that code, because it'll take probably about 10 minutes to install those apps. So to run your code, you can either click run, or you can do Ctrl+Enter to run each line of code. So we'll go ahead and load in all of our packages that we need. And then in this line of code, so you'll see that it's running because it'll have a red stop sign when it's working to do something. And you might get some warning messages depending on the version of R that you have, but everything should still be able to run fine no matter what version you have. So in this line of code, I'm letting you know how exactly I saved all of my CSVs, so which names, which CSVs I saved, and the name that's used. So I can show you, for example, oh, and also all of this is saved in my documents. So you'll see on this line of code, line 17, the squiggle and the /. So I'm telling it to load up my documents. Sometimes, depending on the settings of your computer, you might have to do something like this. Like you might have to actually tell it documents, or if you have it saved somewhere in an S drive or a T drive, you're gonna have to type out the entire like line of how to get there. So each folder, so you'd have to say like documents, Brandy, all years plots.csv. And they have to be saved as exactly these names for it to be able to find it, to find the document. So I actually have San Luis Valley saved as these names, and so I had to add in additional, so I'm going to be running the uncompadre code, so I had to add an additional like item to the name. So all of mine are actually saved like this right now for uncompadre. I'm going to go ahead and change all of my CSV names. So if you saved yours as a completely different name, as long as it's in your documents, you can just highlight this and then change it to whatever name you have it saved as. Okay, so now your code is ready to run. I'll show you what my plot data. So the plot data is the only CSV that I have my actual eco site saved in right now, because R is going to go ahead and assign it to all the other CSVs for me. So I'll show you what that looks like in my plot data. So I'll come to my documents, and all years plots is the CSV that I need. And then we'll see that in one of the columns, we have an actual .eco site. And so I did post stratification for the Uncompadre field office. So I actually, regardless of what the plot ID was, I assigned it right here. You'll see actual eco site. And then title of this column has to be saved exactly this way for it to be able to match in the code. So actual capitalized .eco.site. And so you'll see here, so I saved it as a PJ strata, even though it was supposed to be an Aspen. Same thing, grassland, save it as a PJ strata. So you'll see that for all of my plots, I have an abbreviation saved to them. So this could be an abbreviation of a zone or an allotment or anything. Okay, so then I'll show you, for example, in my LPI line, which also there's something you have to do to LPI, so I'll talk about that while I'm in here. So for your LPI line, you'll see, or for CSV, you'll see that I don't have an actual eco site saved anywhere in here. So something that is wonky when you download LPI detail from Terra.online, I'm not sure if it does it on ArcGIS, this will not be here. It will actually show up right here. So you have to cut it and then paste it to the correct line and make sure that it's saved under the same name. Primary key, no spaces, no periods, capital P, capital K. Okay, so that's how everything is set up, and now the code is ready to run. So I'll go ahead and begin running things. So here, this is the line where you see that I'm matching my primary keys to input an actual eco site column, so a brand new column into my soil horizons CSV. And if there were any sort of errors in any of this code, then I would get some sort of red warning message down in the console. Okay, so if you want to check to make sure, so I went ahead and ran all of these. So if you wanted to check to make sure that, say, SP data now has an actual eco site assigned, I'm going to go ahead and do it in my console because I don't want to save it in the code. Or, well, I guess I can. So you can use a view function, and then you can run, so say I want to make sure my SP data has actual eco site. You can either do it this way, and this will upload the whole entire like CSV in a separate window, or you can go like this, and you'll see that it's in there. So you can do that and run it that way to make sure that all of your values are assigned and appearing correctly. Okay, so there's one more left. Here's the LPI all. Oop, gotta make this U. So here's my LPI all. And there's a few things that I'm doing. I'm just selecting data and omitting any NAs, and then again, assigning the actual ecological site. Okay, one more step and the code is ready to continue on. So now all of your CSVs, all the files you need are uploaded. Now we just need to make sure that we have your strata name and not San Luis Valley strata name. So in order to, here I'm telling you about how to do a find and replace all. So I will select here. So I'm selecting the BH, Basalt Hills strata, and I'm going to do Ctrl+F, and I'm going to replace with, say, Sage Step, which is one of Uncompadre's stratas. And if you click replace, it'll only replace one, so we want to replace all. And it'll tell you that it replaced all of them, but it'll also shoot you to the bottom of the script. So you have to go back up to the top. And Then we can do the same thing. So say here, we don't want LB, we'll do a control find, and we'll replace it with salt desert and replace all. Okay. So I'm only going to do it for 2 of them. I feel like it's pretty explanatory. Something that's nice about the code is say that you only had 2 strata that you needed to do. If you leave in all of these values from San Luis, it's not going to cause any issues with the code. It's just going to produce blank tables when you get to them, which I'll show you in later videos. So say I only wanted to look at 2 strata for Compadre field office, then I could just change these 2 and leave these here. If I wanted to edit the code, I could also remove them if you're comfortable with that. If you need to add more strata in, then here on this line, you would just go like this and type in the name of whatever the name of your strata is. But then you would also, throughout the code, every time you see a line written for an individual ecosite, such as 4, you would need to copy and change the name to whatever the additional ecosite you have. So that is all for the setup. So now I would be able to run my code, and then I'll do more videos in the future going over these individual sections.